It's brought down that Avram experienced 10 challenges during his life. And according to many commentaries, the 10th challenge that Avram experienced was not the Akedah, where Avram had to sacrifice his child Yitzchak, Isaac, on the altar, but the 10th challenge was in this week's Parsha Chai Sarah, where Avram had to deal with the death of his wife, and had to bury his wife, and had to buy Ma'aret HaMachpelah, the cave in which he would have to bury his wife, but he had to buy it from Ephron, the conniving cheat. And the question is, what's the deeper meaning of this challenge? What was Avram really forced to grapple with? What was he supposed to overcome? So, in order to understand this, we need to delve into the deep Jewish perspective of marriage. And Chazal, the Jewish sages, explain that man and wife are created as one. And they're then torn apart, so to speak, and born into this physical world separately. Different families, different places, different times, and they're forced to recreate that bond, that connection, that oneness, and go through life, find each other, and rebuild it, and then remain eternally one in the world to come, Olam Haba. And that was what Avram's challenge was. It was not to see this as, so to speak, letting Sarah, his wife, go, and so to speak, saying goodbye to her, but it was a momentary break because they were going to then remain eternally one. And I think this explains something very powerful, because the laws of marriage are learned from this sale, from the sale of Ephron. The Gemara, the tractate Kedushin, the tractate of marriage, learns a lot of laws of marriage from the sale. And the question is why? Why would you learn the laws of marriage from an episode where Sarah died? It wasn't the creation of marriage, it was the end of marriage. But if you think of it like this, that no. This was not Avram's way of saying goodbye to Sarah, but it was the way of saying that we're about to enter into an eternal marriage. Then of course it makes sense that you'd learn laws of marriage from the sale, from when Abraham buys the land from which he's going to then plant the seeds for them to build that eternal connection together. And this explains something else beautiful, because the Rambam, Maimonides, has a very powerful opinion. Because classically, in traditional Judaism, they used to actually have a year break between Kedushin and Nisuin, 2 stages of marriage. You used to do Kedushin, which was, so to speak, the beginning of the relationship, beginning of building that spiritual connection, and Nisuin, the 2nd stage of marriage, would occur about a year later. And the question is, what's the relationship between these two? So the Rambam explains that Kedushin is meant to be a giant step back. It's meant to make it so that a man is prohibited from connecting with his future wife, so that he longs for her and yearns for her. And only after spending a year yearning for her can he then take that giant 2 steps forward and enter into that marriage. And I think it's no coincidence that we learn which halachas of marriage, which laws of marriage from the sale of Ephron, from the sale of Ma'aret HaMachpelah, the laws of Kedushin. Because that's what Avram was doing. He was taking a giant step back. He was creating this giant disconnect from Sarah, so that he'd be able to then take those giant 2 steps forward and join her eternally. And therefore, it's no coincidence that at the end of this week's Parsha, Avraham passes away, he's Niftar, and he joins Sarah in that eternal connection. And the last step is the Maharal explains, a powerful thinker from the 16th century explains that Tchias HaMesim, the resuscitation of the dead, will start and occur from Ma'aret HaMachpelah. Why? Because that's the idea. A kever, a grave, also means a womb. Because really, when we plant the seeds, when we bury people, we're not saying that's the goodbye, that's their, so to speak, leaving this world. It's momentary. Eventually, they'll sprout forth and grow forth and come back. And that's why Ma'aret HaMachpelah is this deep principle that we're not saying goodbye. It's not the end, it's just the beginning. And when Avram was saying goodbye to Sarah, he's saying a temporary goodbye, but really about to enter in that eternal connection, eternal marriage. It was a question of perception, of how are you going to perceive? Are you going to perceive this as the end of the relationship? The marriage has ended, or the marriage is about to begin? That yes, it looks like it's gone, but you're about to enter into eternity. So we should be inspired to walk in Avram's footsteps and be inspired to build powerful perceptions of everything in this life.